Hey there everyone, and welcome to some more RPG horror stories with DnD Doge. In today's episode, we have a few tales about dungeon masters going a tad too overboard in nerfing aspects of Dungeons & Dragons, thus making the game no longer fun for the players. But before we get into those, Lucky, the like and comment kitty, would like to ask a question. I'm sure they will, Lucky. I'm sure they will. But with that said, let's get into these stories. Dungeon Master throws a tantrum because the entire table isn't happy with the constant banning. By Reddit user Z Nihilist. Storytime. This happened a few months ago, and now you guys can know about this. The cast is DM with 14 years of experience DMing and has been doing solely 5e campaigns since it came out, or so we were told. Player 1, me, started 1 year ago playing D&D, running a Sylvan Gloomstalker. Player 2, been playing D&D for 5 years, running a variant human fiend warlock. Player 3, playing D&D for 2 to 3 years, running a Tiefling School of Illusion wizard. Player 4, a newish player, running a Bugbear Zealot Barbarian. And Player 5, been playing for 5 years as well, running an Aasimar Oathbreaker Paladin. The DM presents us with a really cool world setting. The TLDR of it is, during a major battle, the party members who were parts of different factions are confronted with an unknown force that opens a portal to another world, and the party gets their memories wiped. No one knows who was allied to who, and skipping a lot here, they decided to work together to find out what happened and if they can reverse whatever this is. P.S. We were starting at level 3. We spent an entire month working with the DM on a way to create the backgrounds for our characters, considering that we don't know what our backgrounds are. While the DM really took a 180-degree turn later on this process was actually pretty cool and everyone enjoyed it. During this month, we spent a lot of time making sure that the classes and races were approved, etc. But with that out of the way, let's get to it. Session 1 goes just fine, with no red flags. Session 2. We have a pretty tough fight with local bandits who were hiding in some expansive underground ruins. In one part of the ruins, I get a great stealth roll, and due to Umbral Sight, we managed to get the upper hand on a fight when we were at the end of our rope. For the next 30 minutes, the DM is acting short, especially with me. I used to have the habit of sometimes letting my character do things without really talking it out with the other party members. So, till the end of the session, I was worried that I was doing that. I sent messages to the other players, and they were like, "No, you're cool. And you're right, the DM is acting kinda short, and we don't know why." So, after the session is over, the Dungeon Master, without leading into it or anything, just sighs and says, "Umbral Sight is broken, and we need to find a way to fix it. Otherwise, I may have to ban it." It took me by surprise, since that one fight is the only time where Umbral Sight got consideration, as the section of the ruins we were exploring has plenty of light to negate it. I usually don't argue, but we spent a month working on the characters, and they went through every part of the character sheet to make sure it works. Why is this surfacing right now? Either way, no way to argue. They said that we'll talk about it after the following session, and it just goes away. In the next 2 weeks, we talk a few times, and basically the crust of the issue is that the DM doesn't want people cheesing fights. Okay, fair enough. But it's not like I was abusing it. It came into effect once, and then it is easily countered by just having light. Hell, dim light even works. Even if that's not there, there's smell, noise, magic, etc. Session 3. With the issue of Umbral Sight in mind, I tried my best to always give myself reasons why I shouldn't bring it up. I tried making it very limited when I think that I could use it. DM was acting fine, But then, during a fight with the leader of the bandits, who turned out to be a fiend, the paladin crits on a smite. To be clear, you state that you're going to smite before you roll. Wait, no. You can call out a divine smite after you hit. So that right there is already nerfed. He rolls really lucky on a few of the dice, and takes the bandit boss down to 0 HP. The fight was pretty tough, and we already had one person down, and the rest being between 1/4 to 2/3 HP left. And to anyone following, with no surprise, the Dungeon Master goes quiet and starts getting short with the Paladin. At the end of the session, the same things happen. The DM, without leading up to it, just states that the Paladin crits are overpowered, and we may need to remove the extra D8 on undead and fiends, and maybe keep crits to the melee attacks. A few days later, he comes back with the following rulings. Umbral Sight. 1. I get to keep it, but to get the benefit, I must first roll a hard stealth check, so 20+. 2. Every time we enter a new room, a new roll is needed. Mind you, there was only one dark room in 3 sessions so far. And 3. I am not allowed to get past without a trace. Paladin Smites. 1. No additional damage dice for fiends or undead. 2. Bans upgraded smites, meaning that it's always 2d8s no matter what spell level is used. And 3. Bans crits on smites. Paladin gets pretty upset, and the entire table is like, dude, what the hell? Why are you going hard on these things? Though there was no answer. Later, one of the 3 players reaches out to the DM, and apparently, according to DM, we picked OP classes, and it's ruining his setting and world. I think all 5 of us were pretty stunned, and the Paladin sends a message to the DM on behalf of the entire group that a lot of us put quite a bit of thought into these characters, and it is a bit unfair for us to get these restrictions after the DM did a thorough back and forth with us before session 1, and we'd like to maybe try to either roll new characters or talk about these issues. And the DM replies back that we can talk about it after session 4. The last session, aka session 4. We talk for a few minutes before the start of the session, and the DM promises that he won't leave the voice channel tonight until we reach a compromise that satisfies everyone. Midway through the session, we are inside a castle with the floor falling around us, with a few enemies on some platforms. The Bugbear Barbarian has reach of 15 feet on his turns, as he has a glaive and can extend his reach by 5 feet. So, on one occasion, he positions himself in a way that can reach one powerful enemy, and focuses on it. The next turn, the enemy moves around, and the Barbarian follows and does the same thing. Suddenly, the DM pauses the session, tells the Barbarian that, for this night, he can't extend his reach, and that his glaive can't reach beyond 5 feet, so he basically neuters the race and the weapon. At this point, I decided that this was going to be my final session. There is no reasoning with whatever this is, but one by one, the others take turns telling him that this isn't fun with the constant banning of every single perk and mechanic, that there are a million ways to deal with these perceived issues, and banning every little thing isn't fun anymore. This isn't supposed to be torturous. The DM just explodes and goes on a tirade on how every one of us can't help ourselves but to min-max every little aspect of our characters. How he can't run a campaign without someone power gaming, and then goes on a tirade on how difficult it is to run a campaign without people ruining the fun. 5 people disconnect, 5 people leave the server, and 5 people ban one person. I'm not sure what he expected. Us not using the mechanics of the game? How this guy ever ran a DnD campaign is beyond me. I mean, what's next? Banning putting points in charisma because it gives you higher persuasion checks? Man, that sure is rich for the DM to claim that the players were ruining the fun. Like, dude, the call is coming from inside the house here. Some of those calls were just stupid, like not being able to upcast Divine Smite, and having it that it doesn't get a bonus against undead or fiends. that kind of takes the divine out of it. It kind of sounds to me like this DM just wanted to punish the players for playing well, and probably had a DM versus the players mentality. And I'd say that the party did do the right thing here. They tried to talk things out with the DM and come to some sort of conclusion to these issues, but the DM just kept nerfing things that didn't suit the situation he wanted to happen, and then flipped out on the players, calling them min-maxers for playing their classes the way those classes were built for. And in regards to the fact that the DM said that he can't run a game without anyone min-maxing, if you wake up and run into an a-hole, well, that person was probably an a-hole. If you keep on running into a-holes, chances are you're the a-hole. So, the end result here was the DM getting the banhammer instead of everything else. And I don't blame the players one bit for doing that. Hopefully, they all stick together as a group and find a DM that isn't trigger happy with the Nerf gun. Or even maybe one of them could take up the mantle of Dungeon Master. Let's move on to the next one. Monk is too strong. By Reddit user Asmodeus is Daddy. I was part of a campaign with 6 others. We had 2 Battlesmith gunslinging artificers, a Gnome Rune Knight, a Divine Soul Sorcerer, Devotion Paladin, a dual-wielding rogue, and me, a Wildfire Druid Monk, planned to be an Ascendant Dragon Monk. Now, for the meat and potatoes. We started at level 3, and I was a split of 2nd level Druid and 1st level Monk. The DM also used crit fumble rules. I used the Quarterstaff, which was the versatile trait for D8 damage. We were in combat, and the gunslingers kept rolling 1s, so they would fumble and shoot the party. Mostly me, since I was one of the only melee characters. All without factoring in the character's armor class. I attacked with my staff using 2 hands, dealing 1d8 plus dex damage, and then I went to make my bonus action, Unarmed Strike, to which the DM asked me why I got to attack again. I explained that it was because of martial arts. Since I attacked with a monk weapon, I get to make an Unarmed Strike as a bonus action. The DM did not like that, and said, "That's not fair to the other players. Monk is too strong. You can't make that bonus action attack when you use a weapon, especially if it's using 2 hands, because you can't take your hands off of the staff to punch someone." Yeah, because a person totally can't hold a staff with 1 hand. I was incredibly miffed, and attempted to contest it, but was told that it's just not fair to the others that I get to make 2 attacks when no one else can. Later on, I rolled a nat 1 on an attack with my staff, and as per the DM, the enemy grabbed my staff and took it from me, then teleported away, all on my turn. So, my staff, which was important to the backstory of the character mind you, was just taken away because I rolled a 1, and now I had no chance to get it back. That made me even more miffed. Our rogue was a halfling, so they never dealt with fumbles, and they were making 2 attacks a turn with short swords for 2d6 plus dex mod a turn. We leveled up after the fight, and now, feeling like I shouldn't even go more into Monk since it was nerfed so horribly from the start, I decided to go Druid again, and was told that the following spells were banned: Moonbeam, Healing Spirit, Summon Beast, no contest from me on that one, I get it with summons, and Pass Without a Trace. So my options weren't too good. I ended up just using Flame Blade, because I no longer had a weapon. Well, guess what? The next fight we get into, the boss heals from fire damage, as it was some sort of construct. So I was healing the boss, and the DM never told me that the damage wasn't dealing damage, so I just ended up undoing the damage that my party was doing. I left after that, because nerfing my character after I already built them and not allowing me to change it was just not good, and honestly, made me dread being there. Yep, I would probably leave at that point too. I can understand a dungeon master making some tweaks to rules in a game, but the players should be notified of those changes way before the game starts, and especially before character creation. I mean, why would anyone pick a monk then, when you take away one of the key points of playing a monk? No pun intended. Not to mention flat out telling the player that some of the best spells for a druid can't be taken either. I'm sure that all of this already had OP teetering on the edge of leaving, but then the whole thing with the boss being healed by OP's attacks and not giving any hints towards that, I can see why that was OP's final straw. So OP did the right thing in leaving in my opinion, and hopefully they can find a game to play in with a dungeon master that they gel with, and will let a monk be a monk. But by the looks of things, it seems we have time for one more short bonus story. So let's wrap up today's video with this one. Did I do something wrong when I tried to convince the bad guy to come with us willingly? By Reddit user MNV22. I wanted some advice based on what happened last session in a campaign I play in. In the setting we play in, a death god started a war against the living. Our party was tasked to capture a woman who the organization we're from said was the daughter of said god. We were also told that she was orphaned and an amputee who had a history of aiding the local orphanage. For context, I was playing a young elf, lawful good paladin, who tries to see the good in everyone. When my character suggested that we try talking to her and try to reason with her, everybody shut him down. When we got to the city where she was, my character snuck past the party and talked to her and told her the truth. She wanted to meet at night in another location to talk further, but she turned out to really be evil, and fighting ensued, with the whole party getting involved. At the end of the session, some of the players expressed that they didn't like the session because my character went behind their backs and I wasn't a team player. But personally, I only saw it as role-playing. Can anyone more experienced weigh in? Well, in my opinion, OP did nothing wrong here, and their summation that it was just roleplay is correct. I can understand the other characters being upset with OP's character, as that would be good role-playing as well. But for the players themselves to get upset is, again, in my opinion, an overreaction. Though, what do you all think? But that is all I have for you today. As always, I appreciate all of you, and I assure you that fact will never be nerfed. Until next time.